Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Halloween episode of the Highly Taken podcast. I am David, back at you again from Tallahassee, Florida.
Christian, back at you from Elkton, Maryland.
Nick, back at you in Jacksonville. I gotta say, man, I was talking to Ty, and she never really watched Halloween Town. I mean, it hurt my soul when she said, I haven't seen Halloween Town. I mean, I feel like growing up, that's the thing. Halloween Town was the thing to watch. Am I wrong?
I don't think she had a childhood. What do you think? What do you think the best Halloween movie ever is? Like, if you had one Halloween movie you'd say is the best, which one would you be watching?
I mean, bro, that's a loaded question. I like Halloween Town. I like Halloween Town 2. I like Halloween Town 3. I can go with all those.
I like the movie Halloween.
That's a cult classic. Can't go wrong with Halloween. Hocus Pocus. That's a classic.
That's a classic.
The real question. Nightmare Before Christmas. What's the best time to watch that movie?
Truthfully, Halloween. I think it's a Halloween movie.
Yeah, Halloween.
Truthfully, for me, it's actually a movie for November.
Okay,
it's a movie
put it right in between. Okay,
I think it's a good one to go into.
I think for my favorite Halloween movie, if I was to pick one, would obviously be the best movie of all time. Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, the live-action one with Matthew Lillard. Probably one of the best pieces of cinema of all time. I saw somebody who dressed up in their costume was Scooby-Doo, but specifically like them at the villains bar when they were dressed up as like disco people. So I thought that was a really cool costume. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty classic movie right there.
Yeah.
No one knows the best scene in that movie is when Velma walks down wearing the all red latex suit and goes, "Who's your mommy?" Probably the best piece in cinema history. But let's get into it. We only have an hour to do this.
we got a lot to unpack. One, I don't know why you have two splooge marks right here, David.
Nice. I'm Venom.
Oh, they're in your eyes?
Yeah, they are my. No, okay. But I will say there were games that were played this past weekend. We picked them. We may have gotten them right or wrong. Nick, how about you tell us how that went down?
Oh, God.
I will say I'm a little upset Florida lost. But I will say, for $50 a ticket, man, the environment's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I wouldn't mind going again. Maybe next time we go, Florida might be ranked top 15. Might wait a little bit for that. Maybe the downfall of Georgia. But, coming in first place with a total of 6 was myself.
Ooh,
I'll take that. Coming in last, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
With 4.
Yeah.
Was Christian.
Yeah.
You bet against the Bengals, and it's just not good. You took NC State against Clemson. Not
that happened
good. Though. What's another one? You took the Utes over Oregon.
That was the big one. Yeah.
Not good.
I think the Jets
the
Giants over the Jets was an interesting one he took too.
Yeah, the Giants over the Jets. I didn't really see that one. And on top of that, you decided to take the Diamondbacks over the Rangers, which game 1 was a fantastic game. Nonetheless, the second game was absolute hot garbage, one-sided the whole way. And I now am more sure that it's going to be ending in 5. But, it happens, man. It happens to the best of us. I also do want to point out my hot take of the week was Kansas was going to keep it within 5 against Oklahoma.
They did that.
They didn't keep it within 5. They showed them who was a better team. They absolutely went out there and destroyed them on both sides of the football and showed them they did not deserve to be in the playoffs. Kudos to Kansas for taking that. That's a huge win for them at home. Love to see it. I also want to bring up, Christian said Schultz was going to have an absolute game. I'm gonna have to put it out there. The dude had 2.5 points. He did better last week on the bye than he did this week, and that's just unfortunate. But it's okay. Things happen. It wasn't your week. It wasn't my week. I said Lamar Jackson was going to go off. Lamar Jackson looked like garbage. He looked terrible against a team that's really not that good.
I was right. I said Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were going to go off. I felt pretty happy there. Nick, you said George Kittle was going to do well this past week, and he did pretty well.
Yeah. It was crazy. I thought Purdy wasn't going to get the start, but he did. He looked okay. Something just doesn't. I don't know,
right.
man.
Something doesn't look right.
Something's off there. That defense doesn't give up this amount of points. I don't know what's going on. But I want to dive into a lot of NFL, what's going on. Main thing I want to bring up, now that we're talking about rookie quarterbacks. Guys, I would argue to say Will Levis looked like the best quarterback. The way he was throwing that ball, 19 to 29, 238 yards, 4 TDs, airing it out. D-Hop looked great. I mean, why not go after D-Hop? He's a proven receiver. Showed him why he should be the starter. And in my opinion, Tannehill should be sitting the rest of the year. You want a chance to win this division or even go to the playoffs, you sit Tannehill and you run with this quarterback because he looked good.
And, I'd argue there's a – sorry, you go first.
Who do they play, Nick?
Atlanta. Their defense has been decent.
Atlanta.
Right, they played Atlanta. The defense is decent. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to rookie quarterbacks or quarterbacks stepping in for the first time in midseason, it's always hit and miss. It's always hit and miss. Sometimes you get a great game out.
Well, it hit.
Sometimes you get a great game out of him. Sometimes you get a bad game out of him. Jalen Hurts, his first ever game as a starter, he went out there and beat the best defense in the Saints that year, right? I mean, it all depends. I don't know. I'm going to be able to sit here and say, oh, well, if they put Levis in, they're going to win the rest of the way and they're going to do this, that. I don't know. You got to remember, almost half of his yards or over half of his yards came off of 4 receptions. 4 of them.
Okay.
To DeAndre Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
If you play a team with a better number 1 corner, man, that takes away. I mean, this is the first time in weeks Hopkins has been relevant. Second time all year he's been relevant. I just don't know if the quarterback change and play there is going to be enough for Tennessee to be able to do anything and have a shot to push that division.
So let's say it's not enough to put him in there. Based off of your future, why aren't you going to start Will Levis for the rest of the year, in my opinion? Tannehill's done. I believe this is his contract year. He's hurt all the time. Why not just ride the rookie and let him go out there and try to perform? They did it. The Eagles did it with Hurts. Let him go out there and try to perform. Why not?
I just feel bad for Malik Willis.
Yeah, I do too. Well, here's what I'll say. There's a team out there right now who may want to look into trading for Tannehill if they are going forward, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota may want to just – I don't know who their backup is over in Minnesota. I forget who it was, but he looked –
Kellen Mond.
Maybe you ride with Kellen Mond, but I don't know. Maybe getting Tannehill wouldn't be such a bad idea. With you guys saying with Will Levis, I want to say, I do want to say, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks is a great stat. But like you said, when, you throw a 47 and a 61-yard bomb to DeAndre Hopkins and 108 yards of your 238 comes off of 2 passes, it's a little shaky. Luckily, he also had some great ground support. Derrick Henry had 101 yards on the ground that game too. So it helped him out as well for Derrick Henry to also be going off. I say you start Levis for the rest of the year. Put him through the fire now. He's had some time to sit there behind quarterbacks. And you know what? If in a division that I say is a very open division right now, not a bad idea to go ahead and just see what you have there in your rookie.
Man, I will say what I'm seeing. I want to say Minnesota now. Detroit's got a decent defense, but I'm starting to think Minnesota might be the better defense in that division right now.
I don't think it matters.
You get a quarterback that comes in there, and if they actually, it was Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall is who they're starting. I don't know. I don't know what you do, man. You make a trade, but from what I can see from some Minnesota fans that I was talking to, they're just saying bite the bullet and play for some draft picks for the rest of the year. You're 4-4. I don't see it that way. I see you have a chance to make a playoff push. Why not try to make a playoff push?
Dude.
Get a quarterback in there, man. I mean, there's plenty of them out there that are willing to go out and, with that offense, you're going to have JJ coming back in a week or two. You could throw in, you could throw pretty much any okay quarterback, and they're going to do a decent job.
Dude, it's crazy too because you figure they're 4-4 after they had started 0-4, and then on top of that, though, you go and look at it. Just 4 weeks ago, we were saying Kirk Cousins is the quarterback name on the trade block. That's the guy that if anyone's getting shipped out, it's Cousins, right?
Yeah.
And now we're like, well, shit. The Vikings need to bring in a quarterback. Like, oh my God,
Yep.
Cousins is gone. We need to get him a quarterback. Yeah, I just think it's so funny, the irony in it.
Here's my hot take. Sam Darnold should go there. I think Sam Darnold would be a good fit there. I think he finally can actually come to an identity and maybe play good. I don't see him losing you the games, but I also don't see him winning you games. So, as long as your defense is good, Sam Darnold's not a bad pick.
Hear me out. He went 4-1 in the regular season last year. This guy is an absolute stud. They could trade for Cooper Rush.
I would see more along the lines of just going out and getting a free agent rather than trading draft capital. I mean, you still have Carson Wentz and Nick Foles who are still out there.
Carson Wentz is a good pick. I will say Carson Wentz would be a good pick.
Carson Wentz is out there in North Dakota somewhere, not too far from Minnesota. So it wouldn't be the farthest of drives or flights.
That's not a bad pick. Why not? If you want to save your season, why not bring in Wentz? To be honest, he's not a bad player. He just makes dumb decisions sometimes.
What about RG3?
So does Kirk. What?
But I would say Wentz would probably, having Hawkinson would help him. He loved Ertz, so he loves his tight end. So he has Hawkinson, and then he gets JJ back. Addison's looked pretty good too.
Addison has looked good.
Maybe adding Wentz in there may not be a bad idea. I don't know. I don't think they'll do it. I think they'll probably just ride it out like you said and go for picks. But it just hurts my heart knowing the Vikings have a great chance of being a wild card team and probably won't go for it.
Well, you want to know what's funny is before this Detroit game is played tonight, right now, the Seattle Seahawks are the second team in the NFC behind Philadelphia.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But the thing is our schedule is just about to get worse. If we can come out with just one loss, I'm happy. But the way that's going to get me into the Dallas game, the way they just went out there and destroyed the Rams. I mean, just laid it to them. But
it was all defense and special teams, bro.
Listen, I understand. I completely understand that. But the way Philly looked against the Foreskins scares me playing Dallas.
They didn't look bad though. You take out, dude. When you think about it, you honestly think about it. That should have been a 28-point win there. Not only do you have the 2 fumbles inside the 5-yard line, you have the garbage time touchdown at the end of the game by Washington. Truthfully, I mean, the only thing is the size advantage that the tight ends had against our safeties. I feel like all game they were just getting burnt by safeties down the middle, and that's when we talk about Kevin Byard. That was his first game playing. He'll have some time to adjust to that new system as well.
How did he look? I didn't get to catch the game.
He was a non-factor, really.
It was really hard to tell because he wasn't out there the whole time. They were riding with Sidney Brown most of the game.
Dude,
Sidney Brown was getting burnt. And it again, Byard just needs time to learn the system. Blankenship looks great, man.
No, he did not look good yesterday, except for the one pick. He was also getting beat pretty badly yesterday.
He bit on one play he bit on, and he made it look. It looked bad. I will say. But that's still on Bradbury there, to be honest. He shouldn't have let that touchdown happen.
Bradbury's not been looking too good this season, though. That's what I'll say.
I don't know, man. It's just scary. It's going to be a good game. 4:00 game of the week. I believe in Philly. So it'll be fun.
Do you see Philly making another trade before the deadline at 4 p.m. tomorrow?
I don't think so. I just don't know, unless it's Patrick Queen. I can't tell you what else. I feel like they're going to ride out with the linebackers they have right now. I just don't see who they go after at this point.
I will say who surprised me yesterday and then got burnt was Cunningham. Cunningham looked really good filling in the lanes on the run, but then he got burnt by Gibson on a wheel route, and that didn't look great. But
The
I don't know,
linebacker on
man.
running back matchup, man. It's always the mismatch.
So we'll see how it goes. To be fair, Jalen Carter was almost like a non-factor yesterday.
He went out in like the first or second quarter. So
Yeah. So Reddick looked great. Reddick looked like peak performance. Strip sack. Unfortunately, they fell on the ball. But
didn't matter. It was fourth down. I mean,
yeah, I know. But it defense, other than their safeties, looked good. Other than the safeties, they look great. They made Sam Howell look like he was an MVP caliber quarterback, and I didn't like that.
I mean,
But it's a divisional game. Things like that happen.
I started both Sam Howell and Jalen Hurts yesterday, so
Nice.
pretty
Good
good
fantasy.
week.
I sat CeeDee Lamb and DeAndre Hopkins.
Dude, that was so bad. And right now, Nick has to have a good game from his last two guys because he's losing to the guy who has all Cowboys players right now.
Dude, last night going into 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the Chargers game, I had an 87% chance to win because Austin Eckler had put up 29 points. All I needed was like 5 points from Darryl Carlson tonight from Vegas. And inside of those last 5 minutes, Austin Eckler freaking fumbled the ball, and I lost like 6 points, and now I have no shot of winning the game tonight, bro.
Unless your kicker goes off.
Yeah, maybe if they, just go, well, we can't do that. I'd rather win money instead of my kicker just going off instead. So hopefully the bet hits instead of just a bunch of field goals.
Yeah, and another thing I'll point out, what about the Broncos and Chiefs game yesterday? How about that?
I called it. I knew it was going to happen. I had a feeling. Broncos kept it close in Arrowhead. Then the weather on top of what was going on. They just had a ton of snow the night before. It was cold. And Broncos, they just looked like they'd rather be there. Not to mention Mahomes had to get an IV before the game.
Mahomes sick.
When we were making a joke about it, saying they're probably going to shoot him up with some stuff, but nothing looked good for Kansas City yesterday, man. They just got outplayed. As simple as that. It's a divisional game. Things happen.
Was the first time? Was it first loss to the Broncos since 2015? And that was the first ever home division loss for Patrick Mahomes too.
Yep.
Wait, what? It was in Denver.
You said in Arrowhead.
No, they played in Arrowhead 2 weeks ago, and Denver almost won.
Oh, gotcha. Well, then I think it was the first road divisional loss that Patrick Mahomes ever had.
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. He's been in the league for a while, and to have that, and because the Chargers are a decent team, that's pretty impressive.
Chargers are okay.
What?
I said decent. Okay and decent are the same thing.
I guess
they are similes.
But it'll be fun. I want to bring out some. NFL. How about the Niners, man?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, and along the same lines, how about the Bengals, And the Niners are a very interesting team. You want to sit there, and they've had 3 straight losses now. And you start to think, is this Purdy? Purdy's not looked great in those past 3 games. That's what I'll say. He hasn't looked amazing. They've only lost Debo, but I think the big factors people need to remember is they also aren't having Trent Williams. And in going into yesterday's game, Trey Hendrickson was like the 3rd or 4th in sacks among his entire NFL. And then the Bengals have Sam Hubbard on the other side. So Trent Williams is out. So now you're having the game plan for both Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. And, you can say, oh, but they have all these talents. But when you can't get the ball to them, that becomes an issue. I would argue for the Eagles too. If Lane Johnson gets out of the game, and then Hurts gets sacked, we're like, oh, it's Lane Johnson's out. That's the reason why. Even though we have Mailata, even though we have Jurgens, even though we have Kelsey.
But that hurts the entire one side of your line.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, you want to talk about the Eagles. Opeta is our backup. He's not supposed to be our starter. And then he just got hurt yesterday. But I agree with you. He's arguably, I would say he's the best left tackle in the league. And you lose him, that hurts. That hurts a lot.
Yeah.
And they don't have an easy road left in play. Their schedule, they got the Jaguars, which they've been getting hot. playing next week. Then they got the Bucks. They should win against the Bucks, but then they have Seattle. They have the Eagles, Seattle, and then, the Ravens and possibly the Rams, like later on. I mean, they have a couple easy games with the Cardinals and Washington, but the way they're looking right now, I just don't know. I don't know. In other news, speaking of Washington, guys, did you hear that Jamar Chase might be getting, not Jamar Chase, Chase Young might be getting traded?
I heard the Bears out of all teams.
I don't know if you guys just heard, but Leonard Williams just got traded from the Giants to Seattle.
Oh, another big thing. Leonard Fournette going to the Bills.
Yeah.
Oh, that may help them. I've been talking about how one-dimensional that offense is. Maybe that'll help them. I don't know if he's the piece.
I think it's a nothing burger.
I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to help with pass protection. He's a big boy, but you're going to need a couple weeks to get him back into NFL shape. Maybe even more. I know his ass has been sitting and not working. I know he's very lazy. But I mean, what do you think? Like top 5 teams right now? Like, I mean, it has to be switched around at this point.
I feel like right now, number one in my opinion is gonna be Philly. I feel like I haven't seen enough for me to not put them there. I mean, even when you look at the Jets game, just costly mistakes. It's been the most consistent team in a very inconsistent year. You know what I mean? So far. So I'd probably put Philly at 1. At the 2 spot, man, dude, it's tough. It's tough. Nobody's miles away from anybody this year in the league either. Yeah, I'm gonna need some time to think on that. Let me hear you guys' opinion, honestly.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's going to be really tough just because of how wacky the league's been this year. I'll have to agree. Now, it sounds biased, but, I haven't been putting the Eagles at 1 for a while. I think this is really the first time I can say Eagles look like the best team overall right now. Offensive side, defensive side of the ball, both have been looking pretty good. Obviously, they have the best win-loss record in the league right now. Going number 2, that's going to be tough. And I may just have to go with the Ravens. The Ravens now they played a close game against the Cardinals, but let's be honest here, the Cardinals haven't looked they are 1-6, but haven't looked that bad this year.
No,
they beat a good Cowboys team. They played a close game against a lot of good teams this year. Yep. Even though their record doesn't show it, they aren't terrible, and they could honestly be a good piece away from being a good team. Number 3, I'm gonna have to stick. I'll stick the Dolphins in there at number 3. Number 4, I'll say the Chiefs, and then 5 pushing. Even though they had a very bad start, I'll say the Bengals at 5. No, I'll take that back. I'll say the Seahawks. I'll put the Seahawks at 5. Even the Seahawks have looked pretty good, although the Bengals technically have that head-to-head against the Seahawks. Seahawks are a good team as well, so I'll put them at the 5 spot. I think it's really tough. I feel like you really have no one I can truly be like, these are the people I think are going to win the Super Bowl. I have no one right now that I'm like, this is the team that can obviously be the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, man. Like it's really tough looking at this. Everyone's like pretty accurate, like pretty even. I don't even believe the Eagles should be number 1 the way they're looking. I mean, I feel like there should be an asterisk at number 1. I don't know who you put there. Right now, obviously, based on record and the way they're looking, you have to, but there's some games in there that look terrible. But Eagles I have at number 1. At number 2, just based on the offense, I have to go Miami. I mean, I feel like that offense is hard to stop. Number 3, flip on the other side. Based on their defense, Cowboys deserve to have that top 3 spot. I mean, that defense is nuts. They had a couple bad games, but they're looking like a decent team. Number 4, man, see, it just gets tough. I guess I'll go Ravens. I think they deserve to be in it. They played a close game. They ended up winning it. Lamar didn't look good, but they still have found a way to get the job done. And at number 5, might be a surprising pick, but I got the Jags. Jags look good. Yeah. Defense looks good. They beat the Bills.
That's a good Steelers team. A good Steelers defense.
They did decent. They got the job done. Defense looks good. Now, what's crazy is they're not firing on all cylinders on offense. They had a costly turnover yesterday too in the red zone on the 3-yard line. Trevor Lawrence tossed one up and threw an interception. Not ideal, but they ended up winning it, and it was a good game. So I'm going to have Jags at 5 right now.
I think it's interesting to me that just 2 weeks ago, we were all sitting here and arguing how we thought Detroit could have been the number 1 team in the league, and now they don't even crack the top 5 for us after just one loss.
It's not just one loss; it's
the way they lost.
Bad loss. And yes, you can make the arguments. The Dolphins got blown out by the good 2 teams they played, and I can see where that argument comes in. I even have some doubts in the Dolphins, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's just one bad game that the Lions have had, but it was a pretty bad game in recent memory.
It was. I think they pop off tonight, though. I think they're gonna have a huge game tonight.
So, guys, we gotta talk about this ACC football. Louisville just took a beating on Duke this week. Put up a 0 burger for Duke. I mean, does Louisville deserve to be in the top 15 after that performance?
I mean, they beat a ranked Duke team, didn't they?
Yeah, but I don't even think Duke deserves to be ranked, to be honest.
They also lost to Pittsburgh, who just got blown out 58-3 to Notre Dame this past week.
Yep.
So I don't know. And maybe it's tough to say. I just think it comes down to wear and tear inside of your own, schedule. I've said it before. Duke has had a tough schedule the past several weeks. I mean, you go in and you play games against Notre Dame, you play games against Louisville, you play games against Florida State in back-to-back weeks. That is a tough schedule to have to grind through. At the end, it seems like they just ran out of juice, and more power to them. I hope. I think they'll probably drop out of the top 25. I think that would be deservable so at this point.
They did.
But, yeah,
they have 3 losses. You can't be a top 25 team with 3 losses.
No.
The surprising team for me still is Air Force. Air Force is ranked 17. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, they play what in the mountain? They play at the Mountain West Conference or something.
It doesn't matter, dude.
They're
playoffs. They're undefeated.
James Madison all the way.
Dude, but I also want to gauge. I kind of want to gauge you guys on gauge what you guys think on this, on who we looking at for the playoffs right now. Based on what just happened with Michigan, I feel like I have to take Michigan out of the top 4, man. I feel like I do.
I feel like it sucks, but yeah, I feel like Michigan's, wherever they finish by the end of this year, it's going to get basically erased. It's not going to matter. I think they'll end up being disqualified from playoff and bowl game contention. So I don't think you can put them into the 1 through 4 spot anyways. I think Georgia gets in there. Ohio State now, I guess, will get in there. You could see Penn State still get in there. Probably not, though.
Not after that loss.
Yeah.
And a bad win against IU this past
week. Man, you got to watch out. You got Washington, and I will say that. Here's what I'll say. If that Pac-12 conference championship is between Washington and Oregon wins, Oregon's going into the college football playoffs because of the way they've beaten teams.
Yeah.
They played a close game with Washington. In my opinion, they should have won that game.
They should have won that one.
But to be fair, the way they've won in the fashion that they have gone out there and beaten these teams, they deserve to have a playoff spot if they win that Pac-12 conference.
Yeah, and
I think Florida can make a push for a playoff spot.
Everybody just lose the rest of the time. Maybe they have a chance at it.
I mean, if we're talking about the college football playoff, it's really tough because, I was a lifelong Ohio State fan. That offense isn't clicking. Besides Marvin Harrison, the only reason I feel like this team's in games right now is because how good their defense have been. It's weird because Ryan Day, I feel like their defenses have always progressively got worse as the years go on with Ryan Day.
Yep.
This is the first year I'm like, okay, their defense is actually really good against these really good teams, but the offense production, and it's straightly at the quarterback position. I don't know what Kyle McCord's doing, but it's just not it. I just think he's only trying to look at Marvin Harrison the entire time. And you know what? They had a decent game against a good Wisconsin team. They won by 14. They gave the ball to Henderson. Henderson came back and he had over 100 and I want to say it was 162 yards rushing he had in that game, which is tremendous burst. Maybe that will help their offense. But even if Michigan gets disqualified at the end of the season, if Ohio State loses against Michigan, I still think there's a chance they don't make it in the playoffs there. So
Yeah.
I
agree.
if I'm looking at right now who I think is going to make it, I think Georgia. I think they have the easiest path there. Unless they meet Alabama in the finals, which even Alabama doesn't look that good. But I'll say I'll say Georgia is going to make it. I'll say Florida State's going to make it. Florida State has a pretty easy schedule the rest of the year. Then you have, I'll say maybe Ohio State does push in there. Honestly, it's going to be a toss-up between Washington and Oregon, and like Nick said, I just feel like it's going to come down to that last game of the season there in the Big 12 championship game. Pac-12 championship game. The final Pac-12 championship game is going to be one of the biggest games in the season probably. Right now, the Big 12 is beating up on each other. I don't know why they are doing it, but they are beating up on each other. And the Texas team that lost to Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma went and just lost to Kansas. It makes it really hard to put any team in there. USC dropped off the face of the earth, and so I think that as of right now, you're looking at Oregon is going to be that four. I think if they're playing a rematch, I think Oregon ends up winning that game.
You gotta watch out too. I'm looking at Georgia's remaining schedule. They still have to play Missouri, Ole
Missouri's
Miss,
at 14,
and Tennessee. They have Missouri at home. You got an advantage on that. Ole Miss at home, there's your advantage. But then you're playing in Tennessee. All three of those, they're decent teams, so games. It's not an easy schedule.
And then
come down to it, you go up against Alabama in the championship. That could, if Alabama wins that game and Michigan, Ohio State go at it, you're going to see Georgia, Alabama in it again. I don't like it, but it's going to happen. But unfortunately, that's just how it's going to happen.
I feel like you should be more likely to see Oregon and Washington both make the playoffs than you should be Alabama and Georgia.
But let's not count out now. LSU only has one loss to right now a top 5 team in the nation right now.
LSU has 2 losses.
They have 2 losses? Who's their second loss to?
They lost to Ole Miss.
Then how are they 13? And they're playing.
They lost to 2 top 10 teams.
Is Ole Miss a top 10 team right now?
Sorry, they're 11. They're 11.
What the heck? What? Okay, but
I'm gonna lay it down for you right here. This is gonna be my hot take. Last week of the regular season in this swamp, Florida State's playoff hopes are going to be demolished because Florida's gonna win. I'm telling you, Florida's gonna win that game. I know this isn't because Ty went to Florida. This is just my honest opinion. They don't have anything else to play for now. That is the one game they're looking at their schedule. It is marked on the calendar. It's in the swamp. The only thing they can do is take Florida State out of the playoff contention, and it's going to happen that game.
The only thing I'll say is, like I was talking about earlier with Duke's schedule, it's going to be a burnout at the end of the year. They played a good Georgia team, then they play Arkansas, but then you have to play Missouri, and then they play LSU after that, and then they have to play Florida State in back-to-back weeks, and that's going to be tough to go through 2 hard games and then play Florida State as well. I don't say it doesn't happen. Like I said, the swamp is one of the harder places to go in and play, which is why I think it's such a shame that they make the Georgia-Florida game a neutral site every single year. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I'll say that. It's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. But right now, the FSU offense has been shooting on all cylinders right now. Keon Coleman looks like arguably one of the best receivers in the nation right now.
It does.
Just wait. I don't agree with you. I think the Florida Georgia has been played in Jacksonville since 1930s. The identity's ruined. I think they said they've been playing in Jacksonville since 1933. You don't change it now. There's no reason to change it. It's the atmosphere and what it brings to Jacksonville is insane. I was going around looking at it. It's the biggest block party I've ever seen. And there's just as many Georgia people there as there is Florida. It's literally, if not more Georgia, because they're better. You look at the stadium, it's literally split in half. You have Florida fans on one side and Georgia on the other side. It's absolutely cool. It's a great environment. I just don't see it's not you don't go back and forth. The neutral site, I think it stays where it needs to be. It's a fun game. Everybody enjoys it. Even Georgia fans aren't mad that it's being played in Jacksonville. I mean, there's a ton of Georgia fans down in Jacksonville. I don't agree with it. You keep it there. It's been played in Jacksonville since 1933. Keep it there. There's no reason to change it now. It's been 90 years.
Yeah, David, I'm with you, bro. I think there should be home field advantage every year for one team one way or another. That's how every fucking game is played. I don't know why the hell this one is different. So it's just
not every game's played like that. Oklahoma versus Texas isn't always played over there. They played it at AT&T before. Not every single year is played at the same place.
I'm just saying it should be. It's the college atmosphere is what I'm saying. I feel like being inside of the home stadium, going back and forth, it's back and forth. So you're getting every other year, you're getting the advantage and disadvantage. I feel like that's more fair than giving a neutral site that's going to be half and half the entire time.
Yeah. It's fun. I'm not upset about it.
This guy, all of our viewers should know, this guy became like an insanely huge Florida Gators fan over the past 8 weeks. Like, it is kind of crazy to see the transformation that we've seen. He started the year as a Maryland fan.
I'm still a Maryland fan. I just didn't want to talk about how we just got destroyed this past week.
And this guy,
who they play?
Absolutely
Northwestern.
You lost to Northwestern?
You got destroyed by Northwestern?
See, this is why I didn't want to bring it up.
Now we have to talk about that. What the hell happened, dude? Why?
Talia just has he's regressed.
What was the final? What was the final?
I don't want to. There's no reason to talk about it. There's no reason to talk about it.
I'm hitting the.
It happens, man.
Northwestern score.
Playing in Northwestern wasn't good. Wasn't good for us.
Oh, it was 27-33, Nick.
Yeah,
that's only 6 points.
That's too many. That's too many points to give them. It's a blowout in my mind.
They let up 33 points to North freaking Western.
Hey, Northwestern is a 4-4
They were
team
17-point favorites.
Oh, that's rough.
So
odds makers having a day.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's why I didn't want to talk about it. Will always be a Maryland fan, but Ty's a Florida alum. I have to root for Florida. I mean, it's right here. She's an alumni. I have to root for them. It's just like David.
No,
Ohio
it's not.
State and Florida State just picks two best teams in the league.
It's not just like David.
Okay, like Florida State has been good the past 3 or 4 years.
No, it's just you. You graduated and they became good again.
That's my fault.
So, since we got Maryland out of the way, there was a reason why I didn't want to talk about it, but you guys brought it up. What are we thinking tonight in Game 3 of the World Series?
I don't know who pitches, but I will say, I'll just go ahead and say it. My hot take of the week, and not to push it in because it has something to do with baseball, is actually going to be that the Rangers win all 3 games in Arizona and win the World Series in Game 5. And I think the reason why is just because, yes, I feel like the pitching battle does probably go to maybe the Diamondbacks, but you get past those first 2 guys for the Diamondbacks and you basically start having rookies and bullpen games. I just feel like the Rangers' bats are just too good for that. And even if you have Gallen coming back in Game 5, Gallen's 0-3 in this past postseason starts. And so I think the Rangers are just going to end up getting it done, not only today, not only tomorrow, but then also the day after that.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. I think tonight, being in Arizona, I think the Rangers will get the win tonight, but I think the Diamondbacks will get the win in Game 4. I think they'll get the win in Game 5. I think they'll lose Game 6 to the Rangers, and again, in walk-off fashion, as I said last week in Game 7, the Diamondbacks will be your world champion.
So not only do you have the Diamondbacks winning 4 games, but then going to Texas and walking off in Game 7. That's a very interesting take, I will say.
Can we put a bet on that? Because I wonder what would happen if we win that one.
The Diamondbacks like, no, I don't care if we just won the 4th game in Game 5. I want to go back to Texas and then get a walk-off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, Rangers play great away. We saw it. We saw it with Houston.
Won every single Houston game away.
You held them to 1 point or 1 run this last game, which is impressive. I don't think you do that 2 nights in a row. I don't think it happens. I don't care if you're playing in Arizona. I don't care if you're playing in freaking Canada. I don't think you're ever going to make them.
Matt Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, you're playing in Matt.
I don't know, man. I said Rangers are going to win in 5. I'm sticking with it. I think they still do get it done in 5. They're going to have to throw Gallon tomorrow. There's just they can't do anything about it. And they didn't tear him up, but they did a decent job against him. Scherzer's on the mound with a 9.45 ERA. Not good, but he also that was his first game back in a while. So I think he shakes the rust off. I think he gets it done tonight. And I think the Rangers are probably going to win. I'll tell you what, I think they're going to win 8-3 tonight. I mean, at this point, is it any other question but Corbin Carroll making it as the Rookie of the Year and possibly the MVP of the series?
I mean, yeah, if the Diamondbacks were to win, I think he'd be the MVP of the series. He's arguably, between him, I mean, it's probably end up going to Garcia, being the postseason MVP if they have one, But again, it's just a tough task. You know what? I'm thinking about it now. Truthfully, the Diamondbacks should be up 2-0 right now. Let's be honest. They should be up 2-0 right now. They blew that game 1. So, maybe there's a little bit of truth with Christian's, teaching out there. I don't know. I just like the Rangers bats that much. I think they'll get hot at the right time.
I think they're becoming too inconsistent, and I think that's what's killing them. They're not always you figured the last game they lost 9-1. I mean, you're not winning any fucking game when you're hitting 1 run in. And I don't know. I feel like Diamondbacks, they've been hot. Yeah, they settled down for those first 2 games in Philadelphia, but the bats came right back after that, man. They were scoring 3, 4, 5 runs a game, and if you're scoring 4 to 5 a game, man, you should win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. We gotta be quick, so we'll go right into the next thing. I guess since you did the hot take, I guess I can make a. We got a hot take, Christian, because I don't know if I have anything that's good.
Yeah, Vikings will have a quarterback by the end of the week.
Interesting. I was going to go with Harden. I was going to go with Harden is going to get traded by the end of this week.
I'm going to go with Dame Lillard finally gets traded this week.
You guys hear about Slay?
Way too long.
You hear about Slay?
But that's going to get us into our certified and deflated ballers. Christian, what you got?
Yeah, certified baller for me, and I didn't get to catch a lot of football this week, but my certified baller, it's obvious, and it's going to be AJ Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, dude is an absolute monster. I mean, you just went out and broke Calvin Johnson's record of most games consecutively with 125 plus yards. The guy is playing out of his mind. An amazing one-handed grab in the corner of the end zone. Another touchdown grab over 2 defenders in the end zone. He just every week in and week out, this guy keeps coming to play. Yeah, and honestly, when you look at it, dude, if he didn't have such a slow start in the first 2 weeks of the season, he's on a better pace than Tyreek Hill's on right now, right? And I'm not going to sit here and argue all with the what ifs and this, that, and the third. I think both him and Tyreek are the best 1 and 2 receivers in football, without a question. But certified baller for sure for me. It's going to have to go to Tyreek Hill. It's going to have to go to AJ Brown.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you can't argue with the fact that AJ Brown has more yards than 5 other teams in football right now, combined yards. You can't argue with it. So I like it. He has 109 yards or 809 yards now. It's crazy. He had a great game. I don't argue with that. David, do you have an honorable mention? Sure,
yeah,
you do.
Because I wanted to say AJ Brown too, but I think I'm going to give it to Will Levis. Let's go. Your first start. Nothing's better than your first start. Not only do you get the win, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, over 200 yards. That's a great game for your first game. Good confidence builder. Hopefully, I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he, starts going off this season.
I like it. I'll go first with my deflated baller. Hits home, I guess, technically. I'm going Billy Napier, head coach of Florida. not only do you get blown
Dude
out,
said hits home like he's a Gators fan. This
I know
guy.
it hits home because
I
it
was
happened in
renting
Jacksonville.
Gainesville.
Not
Hurt
only
so bad.
Not only do you lose that game by one more point than you did the year before, but then you have the audacity in your press conference to blame Dan Mullen because of the recruits that are coming in and playing for you. Shame on you, man. I hope you're fired. I hope you get fired this year. You've been the worst coach. I'd rather see Dan Mullen as the coach for Florida. He's been awful. He has no emotion, doesn't do anything. Napier sucks. He deserves to be gone. And the fact you're blaming a coach that has nothing to do, freaking you don't have to worry about anything. You have a transfer portal now. You don't have to worry about anything else. Freaking do better. He's my deflated baller.
Yeah, and I'll say too, there's no reason that they should have fired Dan Mullen. He was doing pretty good in recruiting. I don't understand why they fired Dan Mullen. But yeah, if I'm going with deflated baller, you know what? I'm going to give it to an entire fan base.
Oh my God.
It's going to be the Washington Commanders fan base right now. Absolute babies out here saying that the Eagles were gifted the win yesterday because of the rest. I would like you to name me more calls that actually changed the difference in the game that were wrong calls. Like I said, I told you guys yesterday, they called the illegal low block on Logan Thomas. Yeah, sure, that probably shouldn't have been called, but the play after that was a touchdown. So that doesn't really matter at that point. Then they want to say, oh, the ball was complete when they called incomplete. No, it was not. The ball touched the ground. Freaking the commentators, Dean Blandino was saying, no, that's incomplete. It's going to come back. And it did. And now they want to complain about that. But also, Game 1 of the Eagles-Commanders game. You're going to sit there and tell me that you guys weren't gifted 4th and 1 at midfield. We got a tush-push first down, but no, we were offside. But then you go to the replay. Both the hands of freaking Payne was underneath the ball. And it was also Kelsey's hand they called offsides. They called the center offsides when he's at the ball. Makes no sense. And not to mention the Eagles should have absolutely destroyed the Commanders yesterday. You dropped you have 2 fumbles in the 5-yard line. You get a garbage time touchdown, and they also be like, oh, we stopped the tush push. And you did not. The Eagles fumbled the ball themselves. You didn't stop anything. So the Commanders, how about you just shut your mouth for now? You're a poverty franchise. You've changed your name more times than freaking John Cougar Mellencamp. So how about you guys just be quiet right now and just take the L like a champ? That's the first time you probably call yourself champs. So
roasted. Best news has ever happened to Washington.
That was pretty good. David,
hit that up on the TikTok.
I got excited because I thought your deflated baller might have been the same fan base as mine, because mine is also a fan base, but my fan base is actually going to have to be the 49ers fan base. And that's because, dude, I haven't heard a damn chirp out of any of them, because coming into this year, I'm sorry, wasn't this the powerhouse team? Wasn't this the NFC team that was
Purdy was playing in the NFC Championship game? We would have won.
Right. Wasn't Brock Purdy wasn't this the guy that's going to be MVP? Isn't this the team that should? Wait a minute, didn't they just lose 3 in a row? Didn't they just? I don't know about you guys. I haven't heard a peep out of a Niners fan. I haven't heard that they're still waiting for this Philly versus Niners game that's going to be, some crazy game and this and that.
Where's Debo? Where's Debo talking his trash?
Right.
Oh, he's not playing right now.
It's non-existent, and I think it's hilarious to me. They put all their faith into a guy who rode out with 7 wins to end the regular season last year with one of the most stacked teams in the league. Now he has been by himself. He's forced to start playing because Trent Williams hasn't been there and Debo hasn't been there. So all of his receiving options, well, Trent Williams isn't a receiver, but all of his receiving options within Debo, it's not there. All of his pass protection time, it's not there. And the guy looks like crap. And there's not a peep coming out of the Niners fans. I personally absolutely love it because fuck the Niners and fuck their fans. But it's got to be said, they were so high on this season, thinking they were the greatest things in the world. Like you said, David, if we had Purdy playing, not John Johnson, we win the NFC. No, you don't. Shut up. No, you don't. Your team is not built like that. Bring them, keep coming. It's not going to work out. Purdy's not the guy. It's just not going to happen for you. You guys are in for a long road of suffering. Shout out to Niners fans.
Interesting. Well, guys.
Yo.
I think that's going to do it.
Podcast.
That's going to do it.
Like,
great
friends,
week.
Tell your mother.
We'll see you later on Friday.
Let's talk about the games a little bit more than the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, As always, enjoy the week. See you
Happy
on Friday.
Halloween. Eat some candy. Save some paydays for me.
The gridiron, analyzing every play like we was the champion. With witty banter and humor, we keep it fun. HTP fam, we always bring the number one. Highlight taking pockets, we taking over the scene. We drop dubs and chugs, Levin, the sports dream. From hot takes to deep dive, it's a winning regime. Come join the hype, we not just blowing steam.